Captain Lisa Montgomery stood tall on the bridge of the U.S. Defiance as the massive alien space station came into view. The structure was unlike anything humans had built. A huge ring with spikes pointing inward, floating majestically against the backdrop of Jupiter's swirling clouds. "This is it," she said to Commander Peter Rollins beside her. "Humanity's first official meeting with the Galactic Council." Peter nodded, his face serious. "Let's hope they're friendly." Dr. Alan Collins, their diplomatic advisor, checked his tablet one last time. "Remember, Captain, they've been watching us for decades. We need to show strength, but also respect." The shuttle bay doors of the Defiance opened, and their small diplomatic vessel launched toward the alien station. Lisa felt her heart beating faster. This meeting would change human history forever. Inside the council chamber, beings of all shapes and sizes sat in a semicircle. Some looked almost human, while others were completely alien. One was a floating cloud of gas. Another seemed made entirely of crystal. Lisa recognized 27 different species from the briefing materials they'd been sent. High Counselor Zekthar of the Orion Imperium stood to greet them. He was tall and blue-skinned with 4 arms and eyes that glowed yellow. "Welcome, Earthlings. We have waited long to bring you into the greater galactic community." Lisa bowed slightly. "Thank you, High Counselor. We come with open minds and hopes for friendship." The meeting started well. They exchanged gifts and pleasantries. The aliens seemed impressed by human art and music samples, but when they began discussing Earth's place in the galactic order, things changed quickly. "Earth will be classified as a developmental protectorate," Zekthar announced, as if doing them a favor. Lisa frowned. "What exactly does that mean?" "It means," said Counselor Vrax, a small green alien with tentacles for hair, "that you are too primitive for full membership. You will be protected and guided by us until you reach an acceptable level of civilization." A murmur of agreement spread through the chamber. Several council members nodded or made gestures that seemed like approval. "We appreciate your concern," Lisa said carefully, "but Earth is an independent world. We seek partnership, not supervision." Counselor Vrax laughed, a high-pitched sound like breaking glass. "You barely understand gravity manipulation. Your fastest ships are laughably slow. You still fight wars among yourselves." "That doesn't mean—" Lisa started, but was cut off. "Earth's resources would be better managed under Council supervision." Vrax continued, "Your species wastes so much potential." Lisa felt her face grow hot. "Are you suggesting you plan to take control of our planet?" The council chamber grew quiet. Zekthar raised 2 of his 4 hands. "Not immediately, of course, but eventually all developing worlds come under proper management." Lisa exchanged a look with Peter and Alan. This wasn't going as planned. "Earth will not accept subordinate status," she said firmly. "We came here as equals seeking cooperation." Several council members actually laughed at this. Zekthar's glowing eyes narrowed. "You overestimate your position, Captain. The council's decisions are final." "Then this meeting is over," Lisa said, standing up. "We'll return to Earth and report what we've learned today." Back aboard the Defiance, Lisa paced the bridge. "Send a message to Earth. The Council isn't what we hoped. They see us as children to be controlled, not partners." Peter's voice interrupted her thoughts. "Captain, sensors are detecting multiple ships entering our solar system. They're Council vessels, moving fast." "Hail them," Lisa ordered, a feeling of dread growing inside her. The screen flickered to life, showing a harsh-faced alien in a military uniform. "This is Admiral Kralvex of the Council Defense Fleet. Earth has been deemed a security risk due to your unacceptable response to the Council's generous offer." "You have no right to enter our system without permission," Lisa said. Admiral Kralvex smiled, showing rows of pointed teeth. "We have every right. Earth will surrender key resource-rich territories to Council management or face pacification. You have 6 Earth hours to comply." As the communication ended, Lisa turned to her crew. "Set course for Earth, maximum speed." We need to warn them. The Council isn't coming in peace. They're coming to take what they want. Earth's military forces scrambled to prepare. Fighter jets took to the skies. Missile systems were armed, and space defense platforms powered up. Leaders from every nation met in emergency session, setting aside old rivalries in the face of this new threat. "We stand together," President Rebecca Harris declared from the White House Situation Room. Humanity will not bow to alien demands. But they were not ready for what came next. The Council ships entered Earth's atmosphere at dawn. First came a pulse of energy that swept across the planet. In seconds, all electronic systems flickered and died. Military bases went dark. Communication networks failed. Even vehicles stopped working. Colonel John Freeman stood on the roof of the Pentagon, watching helplessly as alien craft appeared over Washington, D.C. They were sleek and silver, moving silently through the morning sky. "We need to get the president to safety," he told his team. Now. They raced through darkened hallways lit only by emergency lights. Outside, Council dropships were landing in the National Mall. Alien soldiers in shimmering armor poured out, carrying weapons that fired beams of blue light. John and his team reached the White House just as a group of aliens approached the gates. They rushed inside and found President Harris in the Oval Office. "Madam President, we have to evacuate," John said, helping her up. She looked at him with determined eyes. "What's the situation?" "Bad. Their technology disabled our defenses before we could fire a single shot." A loud explosion shook the building. Through the window, they could see alien troops advancing across the lawn. "There's an old bunker system they won't know about," John explained as they hurried down a hidden staircase. "We can get you out through there." They barely made it. As they emerged from a tunnel 3 blocks away, they heard the crash of the White House collapsing behind them. Similar scenes played out around the world. In Moscow, Lieutenant Elena Sokolov led civilians to shelter as alien ships targeted military installations. In Beijing, Major William Chen watched helplessly as his advanced fighter jet refused to power up. Within 24 hours, most organized resistance had been crushed. Council forces specifically targeted military bases and weapon systems. They avoided civilian areas when possible, not out of mercy, but because they wanted Earth's cities and infrastructure intact. 3 days after the invasion began, it was over. Government leaders who survived were brought to a meeting in Geneva. Governor Excelmor of the Proxima Hegemony, a tall, thin alien with gray skin and 6 fingers on each hand, addressed them from a floating platform. "Your planet is now under the protection and administration of the Galactic Council," he announced in a cold voice. "Resistance is both futile and unnecessary. Cooperate, and your people will not be harmed." President Harris stepped forward. "And if we refuse?" Excelmor smiled thinly. "Then we will find more compliant humans to work with." He gestured to a screen showing orbital weapons pointed at major cities. "The choice, as you might say, is yours." The Earth's leaders signed the surrender document one by one. Many wept openly. Some refused at first, but when alien troops began rounding up civilians in their countries, they had no choice. Governor Excelmor established his headquarters in the former United Nations building in New York. From there, he issued orders dividing Earth into resource zones. Humans would continue their daily lives, but under alien supervision. Strategic resources would be shipped off-world. Any resistance would be met with swift punishment. John Freeman watched the alien flag being raised over the ruins of Washington from his hiding place in the woods. "This isn't over," he whispered to the small group of soldiers who had escaped with him. "They think they've won, but they don't understand humans. We don't give up." In the distance, Council ships continued to land, bringing more troops and equipment. The occupation of Earth had begun. 6 months passed under alien rule. On the surface, life continued. People went to work, children attended schools, but everything had changed. Council guards patrolled the streets. Resource extraction facilities appeared where forests once stood. Food was rationed, and nightly curfews were strictly enforced. Dr. Catherine Owens walked through the corridors of what was once STRN, now called Research Facility 12. Council scientists supervised human researchers, making sure they worked only on approved projects. Catherine, a brilliant quantum physicist, had been assigned to study Council shield technology. "Fascinating work, isn't it?" asked her alien supervisor, Tekmal. Catherine nodded politely. "Yes, the quantum frequency patterns are unlike anything we've developed." What she didn't say was that she had discovered something important. Every night, when the aliens left, she secretly ran her own tests. Council shields operated on predictable frequency patterns. With the right electromagnetic pulse, the shields could be disrupted. In her small apartment, Catherine carefully encrypted her findings on a modified tablet that couldn't be tracked by Council systems. She would need to get this information to the Resistance. Miles away, in a hidden underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, former Navy SEAL Lieutenant Jack Mitchell met with his growing network of fighters. "Reports from Europe are encouraging," he told the assembled group. "Resistance cells have formed in most major cities. Asia and Africa, too." A young woman raised her hand. "What about weapons? We can't fight them with guns and homemade bombs." "That's why this matters," Jack said, pointing to a stolen Council stunner. "Every piece of their technology we acquire helps us understand how to beat them." The Resistance had started small, hidden messages, secret meetings, stolen equipment. Now it was growing into something more organized. Old military communication systems, thought destroyed, had been repaired and hidden from alien scans. In orbit, Captain Lisa Montgomery and the crew of the U.S. Defiance had become the most wanted fugitives on Earth. They had escaped during the invasion and now operated from a hidden asteroid base. "We've intercepted another Council transmission," her communications officer reported. Lisa read the message and frowned. "They're planning population relocations, starting with coastal cities, to make room for more mining operations," Peter added grimly. "There's more," Lisa said. "Look at these coordinates. These aren't the first worlds they've conquered this way. There's at least a dozen others." The crew fell silent. They weren't just fighting for Earth, but to stop a pattern that had been repeated across the galaxy. That night, a secret transmission reached Resistance bases worldwide. It was encoded using pre-invasion military protocols. The message contained Dr. Owen's shield research and Captain Montgomery's intelligence about other conquered worlds. For the first time, the Resistance had hope, a potential weakness to exploit. The next day, a new alien ship arrived at the Council's Earth headquarters. Unlike the others, this one was smaller and decorated with blue markings. Ambassador Nell Ryn of the Tellurians, one of the Council's newer member species, had come to inspect Earth's integration. Governor Selmore greeted her coldly. "This is an unexpected visit. The Council requires updates on all new protectorates," Nell Ryn replied smoothly. What Excelmore didn't know was that the Tellurians had their own reasons for concern. Many newer Council species were uncomfortable with the treatment of Earth and other conquered worlds. They feared they might be next if they showed any weakness. Later that night, Nell Ryn secretly met with Jack Mitchell in an abandoned subway tunnel. "My people can provide limited technical assistance," she whispered. "But you must understand, this is extremely dangerous for us." Jack nodded. "Why help us at all?" Nell Ryn's 4 eyes blinked sadly. "Because what they've done to your world is wrong. And because you humans have shown more courage in 6 months than many species have in centuries." As they parted ways, Jack felt a new sense of determination. "We're not alone in this fight anymore," he told his team later. "And now we have a plan." Around the world, the word spread from cell to cell. Prepare, train, gather resources. The day would soon come when humanity would strike back. 1 year after the invasion, the Resistance was ready. In underground workshops across the planet, engineers had built devices based on Dr. Owen's research. They called them quantum disruptors, small machines that could temporarily disable Council shield technology. "Are you sure these will work?" General Frank Daniels asked. The former NATO commander now led military operations for the Resistance. Dr. Owens nodded confidently. "We've tested them on captured Council equipment. 10 seconds of exposure shuts down their shields completely for up to 3 minutes. 3 minutes isn't much time," Frank said. "It's enough if everyone strikes at once," Jack Mitchell replied. "That's why we're attacking on July 4th. One coordinated global assault. The date wasn't chosen only for its symbolic meaning of independence. It was also when Governor Salmore would hold a ceremony marking 1 year of Council rule, with many alien officials gathered in one place. Resistance cells had smuggled disruptors to every major Council facility worldwide. The plan was to follow the sunrise, starting in New Zealand and moving westward around the globe, giving the aliens no time to send reinforcements. The night before the attack, Lisa Montgomery sent a message from orbit. "Council ships are in standard patrol formation. They suspect nothing. Good luck, Earth. Strike hard." Dawn broke over Auckland. Olivia Parker, a former police officer who now led the New Zealand Resistance, checked her watch. "It's time." Her team activated their disruptors. At the nearby Council Administration Building, the aliens' personal shields flickered and died. Resistance fighters moved in quickly, using stolen Council weapons and taking the aliens completely by surprise. As the sun rose over each time zone, the pattern repeated. In Sydney, then Tokyo, then Seoul, Manila, and across Asia, Council forces, who had grown complacent after a year of relatively little resistance, were overwhelmed. In London, resistance fighters stormed the European Administrative Headquarters. Olivia Parker, who had flown in secretly 2 days earlier, led the team that captured Governor Delegate Thrax. "This is impossible," the alien sputtered as humans bound his 4 arms. "You are primitives." "Surprise," Olivia said with a grim smile. In space, Commander Peter Rawlins led a team in stolen shuttlecraft. They had modified the vehicles with disruptors and approached 2 Council frigates on patrol. "Now," Peter ordered. The disruptors activated. The ship's shields went down. His team boarded quickly, stunning the alien crews before they could react. "Bridge secured," reported his second-in-command. "Controls are ours." Peter didn't waste time celebrating. "Target the command station's communication array. They can't be allowed to call for help." The captured frigates fired on the larger Council station, destroying its long-range transmitters. On Earth, resistance hackers led by Marcus Washington had already infiltrated the ground-based communication systems. "All Council channels are jammed," Marcus reported from his hidden base. "They're blind and mute." By midday, the resistance controlled major cities across Europe and Asia. As the attack wave reached America, Council forces began to realize the scale of what was happening. They tried to regroup, but it was too late. Governor Salmore barricaded himself in his New York headquarters, watching in disbelief as reports of defeats poured in. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his security chief. "They're using our own technology against us." "The humans learn quickly, sir," the officer replied. "And they fight differently than other species we've conquered." Outside, the sounds of battle grew closer. Council soldiers who had seemed invincible a day earlier now fell back in confusion. In Washington, D.C., President Harris walked into the ruins of the White House, flanked by Colonel Freeman and resistance fighters. They raised the American flag over the rubble. Similar scenes played out worldwide. For the first time since the invasion, the aliens knew what it felt like to be hunted and afraid. But everyone knew the Council would strike back. This was only the beginning. The real test would come when Council reinforcements arrived from deep space. 3 days after the global uprising began, the resistance had control of most major cities. Council forces had retreated to fortified positions, waiting for help. That help arrived sooner than expected. Space monitors detected a massive energy surge at the edge of the solar system. Hundreds of Council warships emerged from faster-than-light travel. It was the largest alien fleet humans had ever seen. "They've called in everything they have," Lisa Montgomery said, watching the fleet's approach from her command center on the captured orbital station. Ships from all 27 Council species. At the front of the fleet was an enormous vessel shaped like a spear. The flagship of Grand Admiral Dexoran of the Orion Imperium glowed with power as it led the armada toward Earth. President Harris called an emergency meeting in the rebuilt command center beneath the Pentagon ruins. "What are our options?" she asked the assembled resistance leaders. "We can't match them ship for ship," General Daniels said. "Even with the vessels we've captured, they outnumber us 50 to 1. "Then we need to talk," President Harris decided. "Open a channel to their flagship." The huge face of Admiral Dexoran appeared on the screen. He had blue skin like High Counselor Zekthar, but his eyes glowed red instead of yellow. 4 golden rings pierced his forehead, showing his high rank. "This is President Rebecca Harris of Earth. We request peaceful negotiations." The alien admiral stared at her coldly. "There will be no negotiations with rebels. You will surrender immediately or face the consequences." "We're willing to discuss terms that respect both our peoples," Harris insisted. Admiral Dexoran smiled without warmth. "Allow me to demonstrate how seriously we take your rebellion." The screen changed to show a view of Jakarta, Indonesia's capital city. A beam of light shot down from an orbiting Council ship. In seconds, the entire city was gone, replaced by a smoking crater. Millions of lives extinguished in an instant. "That was a small demonstration," the Admiral continued. "Surrender within 6 hours, or we will destroy every major population center on your planet." As the transmission ended, the room fell silent. Then Dr. Owens spoke up. "They're making a mistake. They think we only have small disruptors." "What do you mean?" President Harris asked. "While they were focused on ground battles, my team has been working on something much bigger," Catherine explained. "We've converted Earth's orbital defense platforms into massive quantum disruptors. They could affect the entire fleet." Jack Mitchell looked skeptical. "The platforms were destroyed during the invasion." "Not destroyed," Dr. Owens corrected. "Disabled. We've spent months secretly repairing them. They're ready now." President Harris didn't hesitate. "Do it." High above Earth, the Council fleet moved into position for orbital bombardment. Inside his flagship, Admiral Dexoran watched with satisfaction. "Begin targeting sequence. Show these primitives the price of defiance." At that moment, 24 human satellites that had appeared dormant for months suddenly activated. A wave of energy swept across Earth's orbit, invisible to the naked eye but devastating to Council technology. On every alien ship, systems failed. Shields collapsed. Weapons went offline. Communications died. "What's happening?" the Admiral demanded as his bridge went dark. From hidden bases on the Moon and Mars, established in secret during the occupation, humanity's restored fleet emerged. At their head was the U.S. Defiance, rebuilt and enhanced with Council technology. "All ships, this is Admiral Montgomery." Lisa's voice rang out over the fleet channel. "Target their engines and weapon systems. Disable, don't destroy. We're not them." The battle for Earth's orbit began. Council ships, suddenly vulnerable, found themselves under attack from all sides. Their technological advantage neutralized, they faced a human force fighting with desperation and fury. Admiral Dexoran watched in shock as his mighty fleet was thrown into chaos. "Impossible," he whispered. "They're just humans." As the battle raged, Earth's leaders watched from below. "Now we show them who they're really dealing with," President Harris said quietly. "Now we fight back." The battle for Earth's orbit lasted 14 hours. When it ended, over half the Council fleet was disabled or captured. The rest had retreated to the far side of the Moon, regrouping and repairing their ships. Admiral Lisa Montgomery stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiance, watching as human crews secured the massive Council flagship, Inevitable Dominion. The ship was 3 times the size of an aircraft carrier, with weapons that could destroy entire cities. Admiral Dexoran is in the holding cell, Commander Rollins reported. He's not happy. I don't care if he's happy, Lisa replied. I care what he knows. In the interrogation room, the blue-skinned admiral sat with his 4 arms bound behind him. His glowing red eyes followed Lisa as she entered. This is temporary, he growled. The Council will send more ships. Before they do, you're going to help us, Lisa said, placing a tablet on the table. We need command codes for your fleet. The alien laughed. I would rather die. That can be arranged, Lisa said coldly. But first, let me show you something. She played a video showing Council ships firing on civilian targets during the invasion. Then another of alien troops rounding up humans for slave labor. Your people claim to be civilized, but you're conquerors. How many other worlds have you done this to? She asked. Something changed in the Admiral's expression. I follow orders. The Council lied to you, Lisa interrupted. They told you we were primitives who needed guidance, but look what we did to your fleet in 3 days. Hours later, Lisa returned to the Defiance with what they needed. Complete access to the Council fleet's systems and communications. The human technicians could now track every Council ship and read their messages. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Owens worked in her lab beneath the Rocky Mountains. Ambassador Nell Ryn of the Tellurians had provided her with advanced Council technology, which she had combined with human innovation. It's ready, Catherine announced to President Harris and the War Council. Our new FTL drive. What makes it better than theirs? General Daniels asked. Council drives require massive energy for each jump, Catherine explained. Ours uses quantum entanglement principles. It's more efficient and precise. President Harris studied the designs. Can we outfit our ships with these? Already started, Catherine replied. And there's something else. She showed them plans for enhanced quantum disruptors that could be mounted on ships. These will work anywhere, not just in Earth orbit. The president nodded slowly. So we can take the fight to them. Exactly, Jack Mitchell said. It's time for Operation Reckoning. The plan was audacious. They would retrofit the captured Council ships with the new drives and weapons. A volunteer force would travel to the Galactic Council's central station, not just to defend Earth, but to change the Council itself. Commander Rollins would lead the diplomatic team. General Daniels would command the military forces, and Admiral Montgomery would have overall command of the fleet. Across Earth, people watched as the captured alien ships were transformed. Humanity's best engineers, scientists, and soldiers worked day and night. Hope spread for the first time since the invasion. As the fleet prepared to depart, they received an urgent transmission from Ambassador Nell Ryn. You must hurry. The Tellurian's image flickered on the screen. The Council has called an emergency session. They're authorizing the use of forbidden weapons against Earth. Planet killers. You have less than 2 weeks. Lisa looked at her crew. Change of plans. We leave in 24 hours. The next day, thousands gathered to watch the fleet depart. 50 ships, some human, some captured from the Council, assembled in Earth orbit. On the Defiance's command deck, Lisa addressed the fleet. For too long, the Council has believed they could take whatever they wanted from those they considered weaker. Today, we show them they're wrong. She paused, looking at the faces of her crew. The Council believes might makes right. Let's show them just how mighty humanity can be. With a flash of energy, the ships disappeared into FTL jumps, heading for the heart of Council space. Earth's counterattack had begun. The Galactic Council's central station orbited the star Proxima Centauri, a massive ring structure large enough to house representatives from 27 species. Inside its Grand Council chambers, High Counselor Zekthar addressed the emergency session. The human rebellion must be crushed completely, he declared, his 4 arms raised dramatically. We have authorized the deployment of planet killer weapons. Counselor Vrax nodded enthusiastically. These primitives need to learn their place in the galactic order. Just as the vote was about to be finalized, alarms blared throughout the station. On the main view screen, ships appeared inside the defensive perimeter. Human ships, using technology the Council had never seen before. "Impossible," Zekthar shouted. "No one can jump that precisely." Admiral Lisa Montgomery's face appeared on all screens across the station. Her expression was calm but determined. "This is Admiral Montgomery of Earth. We come not as supplicants, but as equals. And if equality is denied, we come as conquerors." Council security forces scrambled to their ships, but they were too slow. The human fleet had positioned itself around the station's main weapons. From the U.S. Defiance, Lisa gave the order: "Activate quantum disruptors." A wave of energy swept across the station. Shield generators failed. Automated defenses went offline. The Council's mighty fortress was suddenly defenseless. A strike team led by Jack Mitchell and Olivia Parker boarded the station. They moved quickly through the corridors, disabling security forces with captured Council weapons. Left at the next junction, Dr. Owens directed them through their communication links. She had hacked into the station's computer system and was guiding them from the Defiance. Council chambers are 3 levels up. When they reached the Grand Hall, the Council members were trying to escape. Jack's team sealed the doors. "Please return to your seats," Olivia announced, her weapon raised. "This meeting isn't over." High Counselor Zekthar's yellow eyes narrowed with fury. "This outrage will not stand. You humans have no authority here." "We have the authority of those who refuse to be conquered," Jack replied. On the main screen, President Harris appeared via holographic projection from Earth. Behind her stood General Daniels and representatives from nations around the world. "High Counselor," Harris began, "we are here to present our terms. Earth's full sovereignty, reparations for the damage you've caused, and a complete restructuring of the Council to prevent future conquests." "Absurd," shouted Counselor Vrax. "The Council has ruled this sector for millennia. And perhaps that's the problem," came a voice from the back of the chamber. Ambassador Nell Ryn stepped forward, accompanied by representatives from other junior Council species. "We have evidence," Nell Ryn continued, "showing how the senior Council species have exploited newer members for centuries, violating the Council's own founding principles." Lisa Montgomery transmitted files to the chamber's display systems. Records appeared showing how worlds had been conquered, their resources stolen, their people oppressed, all under the guise of protection and development. "This is the true face of your Galactic Council," Lisa said. "Not a community of equals, but an empire of exploitation." The chamber erupted into chaos. Junior Council members who had long suspected such abuses now saw proof. Many stood and moved to the human side of the room. Seeing his support crumbling, Zekthar slumped in his seat. "What do you want?" "A real council," President Harris answered. "One that respects all worlds, regardless of their development stage. One that helps rather than conquers." 1 year later, Earth led a reformed Galactic Alliance based on genuine cooperation. The former ruling species were now equal members, earning back trust through actions rather than force. Lisa Montgomery, now Earth's representative to the Alliance, stood with Nell Ryn, watching ships from dozens of worlds dock at the station. "You humans achieved in 2 years what many of us couldn't accomplish in centuries," Nell Ryn observed. "The galaxy will never be the same." That, Lisa responded with a smile, was the plan all along.